Food standards, they're important. Why? Not only does it protect public health, it ensures that we have a really good standard of food. And one of the things that we, we used to be good at in the UK was being able to extend soft power to other countries to be able to follow our examples and rules and regulations. Now, us leaving the EU has damaged our soft power beyond compare. We covered it last week that our ranking in like the soft power table has just plummeted, and now we have this. I warned you, the Conservatives were after one thing. They're all about quick and easy deals, and one of the things that we've warned you about is the deal with the US that is going to hurt this country far more than it profits from it. All the information that we have seen, we'd only get like a 0.2% rise in GDP, which is nothing compared to what we lose from leaving the single market and the Europe and Europe in general. It's nothing. As I always keep on saying, Brexit is a continuous, colossal waste of time and effort. But, once again, the Conservatives ploughing on. So, government rejects proposed ban on poor quality US food imports after Brexit transition. Why do you think they voted against that, you wonder? The government has defeated a Tory rebellion intended to stop the UK importing poorer quality food after signing a free trade deal with Donald J. Trump's United States or other countries. Now, this is quite important. A lot of the Tory heartlands are rural areas, so having high quality food standards is really quite important, because not only does it make sure that there is a really good level of food that comes into this country, and I'm sure you can agree eating good quality food is a good thing. I'm sure we can all agree on that. What the danger comes in is when you allow this lower quality food that can be transported in large amounts and sold at pretty much nothing, which pretty much means UK agriculture gets screwed. Remember, after the farmers supported Brexit in quite high numbers, they immediately went to the government asking for a subsidy from the UK government to replace the one that they were going to lose from the EU. As of yet, the government has not replaced that subsidy. Of which, if you remember back then when we covered that, about 80% of small farmers could face bankruptcy in the post-Brexit scenario. And that wasn't that was from the Farmers Union itself. So even they are worried about this crisis. So Tory MP Neil Parish's amendment to ensure that agricultural imports adhere to UK animal health and welfare, environmental environmental standards was rejected by 328 to 277, a majority of just 51. That appeared, however, to be 22 Tory rebels, including Chancellor Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak, yeah. But the Commons Deputy Speaker Enor Lang later confirmed that there were some MPs had accidentally voted the wrong way as they were trialling a new electronic voting system. If that happened, do you not think the vote should maybe be redone? Just cancel it out and just redo it to make sure? But that's just me. The move against Parish's amendment will once again raise fears that the UK will water down its standards as it strikes post-Brexit free trade deals. Agricultural, Fisheries and Food Minister Veronica Perez insisted that all current EU food import standards would be converted into new domestic law, including a ban on growth hormones in beef and chlorinated washed chicken, which is among the greatest concerns after a US free trade deal. But Parish, the Tory chair of the Commons Environmental, Food and Rural Affairs Committee said that MPs should not be frightened of ensuring that US food imported to the UK cannot undercut our present production methods and animal welfare. Which is exactly what we've been saying. And this is why this is another very influential group within the Tory party. As we've said, a lot of the Tory heartlands are very rural. So if the Tories are seeing to be screwing over farmers, you could see blue seats turn red, or even yellow, or even green. Perish the thought, but there you go. There's been a reason why a lot of Green activists and Green Party have really stepped up their campaigning in rural areas. And that could be interesting to see at the next local elections. That could be very interesting to see. So, calling on MPs to amend the agricultural bill, he said, "I would quite clearly say to the Secretary of Trade for Trade that she should actually spend her time going out and dealing with a trade deal that has the equivalence and make sure that we actually export our very important animal environmental welfare." And I'd say to the Americans, why don't you upgrade your production? Why don't you reduce the density of populations of your chickens? Why don't you reduce the amount of antibiotics you're using? And then you can actually produce better chicken. Not only for America, it can also come into this country. Paris has said that rebels and their cross-party backers were being led down the garden path by ministers who urged that they wanted to wait and see what the future legislation on trade deals before attempting to pass guarantees in law. Fellow Tory Simon Howard, I think that's how you say it, said that without changes to the bill, food imports to this country could be cheap for no other reason bar the fact that they were raised to lower standards. Anybody can look at a variety of websites to realise some of the pretty horrendous ways in which livestock is raised in a number of countries across the world, he said. And I think we should shun that and be a beacon of excellence and high standards. Labour's Shadow Environmental Secretary Luke Pollard told the Commons that the failure to guarantee food standards in an agricultural bill could lead to a race to the bottom. He said that the political handcuffs placed on the Environmental Secretary and his ministers to tie them to appease these reasonable, sensible and necessary and essential amendments betray the bigger political agenda at play here. He added, "If orders are coming from the Department of International Trade, then they have my sympathy for being caught in the insidious place of choosing between what is right and what they're told to do. The inevitable deregulatory pressure from the poorer quality food will put pressure on Britain to slash our high standards so that farmers can compete. It would risk a race to the bottom." He also said, "I'd like to reassure colleagues that all food coming into this country will meet the requirements to meet existing import requirements." At the end of the transition period, the Withdrawal Act will convert all EU standards into domestic law. This will include a ban on using artificial growth hormones in beef, and nothing apart from potable water may be used to clean chicken carcasses, and any changes to these standards would have to come before this Parliament. We will be doing our own inspections to ensure that these import conditions are met. I told you so. We are known, even all in Europe is known, for having really good high food standards. I think you can agree that is something that we should aspire to. I don't think it's anything we should shun away for. Having good food quality standards is good, and it is good for everyone because it also ensures a good public health standard as well. You've only got to look at some of the studies that show that Americans having a lower quality of food has massive implications on their health. So there's not only just the standards quality there, but also public health quality standards there that we need to ensure that we keep. Because if you allow this standard to go and slip, there are plenty of other standards that the Tories are willing to go after to ensure that basically the UK becomes the whipping boy of the US. And it ain't going to be pretty. And what we said again, why are Brexiteers so okay with not accepting the EU where we had a say in all this stuff? Where we had influence to be able to do that, to be able to just dictate orders now from the US. How are you okay with that? I thought you were all about regaining sovereignty for the UK.